エナジードリンクとガチゼロを買う。スティックバイオレンス。翼を授かる。
Well, if she's the one selling it, yeah, no, you could still never get me to ever try Red Bull. Just stick with coffee, bro. We opened this week with Aoyuki watching the reveal stream for the 4th generation of Live-On's VTubers and looking forward to becoming the doting senpai to them as they majestically watch the sunset together.
Ooh, yeah.
First up to bat was Alice Soma, who went with a bit more of a chivalrous female knight persona, who also happened to be a bit of a fan of Aoyuki's. Though, in spite of her looks, I don't think she got her pickup lines from this Utena, but rather this one. And you might think a line like that might not be a big deal and just your typical Yuri pickup until you realize she was the stalker chick from the end of the last episode, which might raise a few red flags. Specifically, she became a fan of hers after the episode 1 incident of the show that gave birth to Shua. So she wasn't even really an OG Aoyuki fan, but hey, everyone's free to pick and choose which specific parts of a fandom that they want to partake in a healthy manner. Key word there, of course, being healthy.
I
think your dad really needs to take away your allowance, girl. A live chat eventually asked her how a total fangirl like her became a VTuber in the same company as her idol. And as it turned out, it was because of Aoyuki that she both failed several times before being hired by Live-On, as she made all of her interviews be all about her with likely novel-sized essays. In short, the company just wanted the meme material that you'd end up producing. At the very least, and even kind of cleverly calling back to the last episode, she clarified that she at least was the harmless type of yandere, which in the context of a more slice-of-life show like this, I do honestly believe her. That said, it didn't stop her from being creepy as all hell.
Nope,
stop talking, go to jail.
Fortunately, the next VTuber, AI Sonokaze, didn't seem like she'd break any laws for the most part, and was more an innocent little animal lover who did provide actual facts and even dispelled some old wives' tales, which at least puts it above wonderful Precure in that regard. I mean, to be fair, that is something I've known for a little while, so it's just a quirky little factoid and... So, yeah, to all those who ever wanted to hear Paprika talk about stats and pennies, you got your wish. Also, I'm calling the FBI on you. Last up was Kaoru Yamatani, and oh goddammit, she's voiced by Kaionon. So, yeah, while on this channel, she might be a little better known as the voice of Cure Finale and Kika from Symphogear, let's be honest, we all know her best as Darkness. So, okay, what sort of kink does this chick have? I'm not here! You can't make me do anything if I'm not here! But yeah, to somehow hammer home that she was a baby, she even admitted to holding up in her bed and playing Princess Connect. I guess the joke was that she liked being babied by Mommy Kokoro, though it also could have been a reference to how every other character in the scene had a VA from that game. Regardless, it was clear that her idea of being a baby aligned more with being a hikikomori than anything else. Also, you wanna see my absolute favorite joke from the show so far? The next day, sanity was somewhat restored when Aoyuki had a collab stream with Mashron, and in fact, she became the kame to her straight man, which, yeah, is kind of typical for almost all the other senior VTubers. The two discussed stuff like the favorite drink combos of King Cobra JFS before talking about the newbies. In particular, Mashron talked about how Alice saw her as a love rival. Also, doesn't Mashron consider herself to be like Aoyuki's mother and yeah, you know what? This episode has enough issues in it, so let's not add to the pile. Anyway, they then looked at some fan illustrations, specifically some more slightly NSFW stuff. And in case you're wondering, I actually did look up these names on Pixiv, and they are indeed real artists who, for the sake of YouTube policies, I would not suggest looking up. I mean, okay, Kai's stuff is actually fairly tamed, probably because they have several official publications, but the last illustration from Shiokombu shows, well, exactly what you're expecting is there. And don't get me wrong, I actually do agree with Aoyuki and do think that all of them are very talented artists. And the fact that this anime is unashamedly pushing their works is another great send-up to how it continues to highlight the importance of fan appreciation in the VTuber circles. I'm just left wondering if Bashon is subscribed to Kanzuin's fanbox because, oh boy, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to be able to look at Laplace Darkness the same way ever again. Anyway, after that fleeting moment of respite, Aoyuki got a call from her manager, as I think their company was starting to regret hiring Alice, as she had been flooding their inbox with collab requests with her. Though really, that was just her being more formal, as she did eventually just DM Aoyuki and, well, you ever get that feeling of dread when a victim in a horror film is about to open a door and you know that a serial killer is on the other side?
なんだこれは。まさかこれ全部は。
Yeah, I don't blame you, dude. Also, nice Evangelion transition. Makes me think about that battle with Zuriel, specifically at the end. Anyway, likely against her better judgment, Aoyuki agreed to the collab, leading to both one of the best and worst interactions in the series so far. I mean, kind of obviously, it was going to be one of the most hilarious bits where Stalker and Stocky getting to know each other, but it also was probably the worst for Aoyuki's mental health.
淡雪殿の声を録音しているので、後で切り抜き動画も。一体何のために？使うためであります。
How to file a restraining order. Step 1. Go to the district court to begin the filing process. Step 2. Fill out a petition. Step 3. From there, they went to the main event of their little collab, which was the eventual bane of many popular content creators looking back at your old stuff. In Aoyuki's case, it was the events that led to the creation of the Shua persona. Of course, she tried everything to worm her way out of this, except for just straightforward saying no to Alice, which, wholesomely enough, she seemed like she would have backed off if she had. But it was also because of that wholesomeness that Aoyuki couldn't just be straightforward with her. Thus, she tried to indirectly turn to the other VTubers for support, like calling back to the promise she made with Sei about saving the Cringe Watch for her.
ちょっと聖様が悲しんじゃうから。聖様！
This is just what happens when you align yourself with some next level pervs. Left with no other options, Aoyuki agreed to the view along, which resulted in her sanity meter being displayed as though this were freaking Yaruko-san. And she somehow survived this mini clip show whilst also declaring that she killed a lady on the screen as though she were a monster guiding down light. And with that, we ended this episode with her rightfully declaring never to look back on her cringe phase ever again. The ending theme was Kaoru doing her character song, which, you know, under normal circumstances, I'd be all for an Ai Kayano song like the way she did for Symphogear, but considering the subject matter of this one, Right now, I'm not completely sure whether or not this show has reached the peak or the bottom, and yet I kind of love where we are right now regardless. I mean, needless to say, this is probably the least G-rated episode so far, with the 4th gen VTubers delving deep into the pits of depravity. Granted, much like a lot of stuff in the show, it's not taken too seriously, and there is a sense that they're not bad people, just kind of caught up in their own things. In that sense, it really did help that these characters stood out in the best and worst ways possible. If I were to pick my favorite amongst the 3 new VTubers, I guess I would go with the safest bet in Alice. I mean, for the most part, she seems like a fairly safe yandere, being very supportive and understanding of Aoyuki's needs. It's just that her methods and desires are hardly any different than Uncle Koshi's. Regardless, I actually do like her chemistry with her idol, as it is legit cute at times, whilst also having a thick layer of black comedy from her freaking obsessiveness. It also provided Aoyuki with a nice bit of karmic irony, with her now being the target of a lustful kohai, who was somehow even hornier. It gave her a nice perspective to realize how much the grand majority of their company gave into their kinks and or quirks. This followed up by the other two, with Kaoru probably being a close second favorite, if only because she feels like a variant of La Latina for dustiness, and she probably is the funniest. Granted, she does remind me a little too much of actual locals who are into this stuff, but again, that's kind of the point of her and the Uber Furry and AI. They all kind of represent the unchained debauchery that VTubers do sometimes partake in. Granted, these are very extreme examples that realistically I doubt their agencies will allow, but it was just meant to show the freedom that many of their viewers do admire. In turn, they often do reply back with stuff like those NSFW fan arts that you could say is lewd, but also does show the appreciation and unity with their idols. Something that again, Alice might represent a little too well, but still, overall, this is just a great episode, if only because of the great black comedy that even kind of delve into the line between fandom and stardom. Alice might not exactly be a revolutionary knight, but it didn't stop her and her cohorts from leaving quite the impression on their senpai.
ついでに父も待ってろ。
それはちょっと
Thank God she doesn't love animals as much as a certain VTuber.
例えばこんな例えばこんな
Grab him by the tail, and I'd swing him around, and I'd twist his arm, and I'd jump on him.
肉妙な気を起こすな
Again, at least you're in good company this week.
ノックもせずに済まない。そういう楽しみ方があるのは知っている。
This dude is surprisingly based. Well, that was actually pretty great. Like, not only is misunderstood raunchiness one of my favorite gags because I'm an immature asshole, but this was a legit good exploration of Byakuya's character. It's not just that she's your stereotypical no-emotional anime girl, but she does seem to suffer from legit trauma that stifles her for the most part, especially in regards to what could be viewed as selfishness. However, I think it's more along the lines of just self-preservation, even on just the mental health level. Just because she once suppressed her fears during a thunderstorm as a kid, she was given the impression that she should do that for the rest of her life, even though that's not good for both her as an average person, and especially not as a magical girl. As a result, Mira did take on a bit more of a new tenor role this week, minus all the torture, even though I was right there for you, dude. No, well, it was at least funny, and their relationship is actually quite sweet, with him encouraging her to be a little bit more true to herself. However, to shake things up, not only do we get the Green River Bird, but also another magical girl coming next week, so that should be interesting. And overall, this is just a really good episode to develop Byakuya a little more, as well as give me one of my favorite gags from the show. Good week for comedy, really. Thank you for watching, and as always, be sure to check out some of our other videos on this channel. Later this week, we might do a little compilation of some of our other reviews we've been doing for this channel. I'm not entirely sure whether or not we'll actually do it, or if we even have the time for it, but we'll see how it pans out. And until then, though, farewell for now, my friends, and
New mask. Same task. What can I tell you? I like playing complicated characters.